My name is James Alvarez, and this is the first time I've ever spoke about this to anyone. I remember that weekend so clearly, yet as if it was days ago. I had no idea of the horror I would soon encounter. I never found out if anybody else had made it out, nor do I want to. I wish I could just wake up tomorrow with no knowledge of it. The Native Americans have a name for the beast. They call it the Wendigo. I work at an investment firm, and as a special thank you for our high sales, I had been one of the few from the offices selected for a ski trip weekend in Minnesota. I agreed. I hadn't had any time off in what seemed like months. I felt it could do some good to let loose for a weekend. I had flown out on a Thursday before a snowstorm was supposed to hit the lodge with where we were staying. I felt lucky getting an extra day for my trip. I arrived at an immaculate cabin that was almost as big as our office. After dropping off my bags to my room, I went to socialize with my coworkers and enjoy their company. After several hours of talking to people, the power had gone out. We even joked, "What the hell is this, a cheesy horror movie now?" Some of us enjoyed a good laugh. Stupid bastards had no clue what was going to happen. With no power, we had no heat, and the temperatures dropped rapidly. It was nothing like I had ever felt before. I had grown up in the Michigan, so I had experienced bitter colds, but this was not like anything I had experienced before. It felt as if my bones had been freezing to the core. I had never been in such pain from cold. We tried to get a fire going from the wooden furniture, but to no avail, nothing. I heard a woman constantly crying. She kept crying and screaming. It kept getting louder and louder. The sound of her screams were like nails on rusted metal. I was about to go crazy when she stood up and charged out of the door. I didn't know what to do. I froze as I watched 3 men run after her, slowly fading into the distance. The sound of their voices growing softer and softer until I couldn't hear anything outside. All I could hear was the howl of the wind. I walked outside to see if I could warm up by moving around a little bit. I stepped out onto the deck and saw what looked like a jacket on the ground. I went down the stairs and started walking towards it once I got close. When I got close, I saw the jacket still had half a person in it. It was one of the men who followed the screaming woman. Without hesitation, I let out an ear-shattering scream, and that's when it began. I heard loud thumps coming from in the woods. It became more repetitive and faster, and it started getting louder. I didn't think anything of it at first until I heard the sound of branches shaking and snapping. I didn't want to see what was coming my way, so I began to run. I was running towards the deck, hoping that whatever it was couldn't get inside. I ran up the stairs past a coworker who was outside smoking a cigarette, and he asked me what I was so out of breath. "You need to get back inside. Something vicious is coming." He didn't believe me. I didn't want to waste my time. I had to warn the others, barricade the doors. Before I could take 2 steps, I heard a scream. I turned around, and lit only by the moonlight, I saw the man in the deck being ripped to pieces by a creature. A beast that stood on the other side of a sliding glass door was 7 feet tall. Walked on 2 hoofed legs with 2 long, thin arms with claws that resembled saws. But most of all, the most horrifying thing of all, was where its head would be set a deer's skull with razor-sharp teeth, with no flesh and no eyes, but could somehow see me. I wanted to run as fast as I could, but I didn't want to make any noise. I had searched the main room and bar and saw nobody. I saw a light out of the corner of my eye and saw cars in the parking lot starting their engines and turning the lights on, and I ran to the front door to try and stop people, and again, to no avail, they ignored me. I don't want to freeze. Why the hell would I go back inside? I heard the thumping again and knew it was coming around the building, and suddenly it came around the corner and began attacking. I ran into the woods, hoping that I would be able to get somewhere safe, away from the massacre that was unfolding. I ran and I ran and I ran until I found myself completely lost. I felt like I was going to die out in the wilderness until I saw what looked like one of the men who ran after the screaming woman. I ran over and saw the man was dead, but it looked like he had bite marks all over him. They were too small to be the creature, but appeared to be human. So sickened I felt lightheaded and leaned on a tree. The woods around me began spinning, and all I could hear were the screams of the people and the roar of the creature. I felt sick and fell down a snowbank, and I blacked out. Hey. Hey. I opened my eyes to see two men with snowboards kneeling next to me. I sat up, and the man told me that I had just been laying down. They were calling the ski patrol. I had wandered onto a ski resort only a few miles from where I had been staying. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, told my story, and was not believed one bit. I became a suspect in the disappearances of everyone who was there. The police found me not to have anything admitting my guilt, and I eventually left my job and relocated to upstate New York. I should feel safe, but it still haunts me. It started out with a noise, nothing out of the ordinary, but it became more and more extreme over time, to where now, I swear, I hear the beast. I've seen what looks like claw marks from the pine trees in my yard. My neighbors tell me it's probably a bear, but a bear? I only thought that I was lucky I didn't get killed. Wendigo psychosis, they call it. The beast will haunt you until you become insane with the lust for human flesh. The woman who ran screaming that night had been the only one who had been on the trip before. And that's when it hit me. That woman was the beast.